What's up, everybody? As you can tell, because we're chilling on a deserted island, clearly, it's that time again where D-Bird and DJB get to talk about our favorite show, Survivor. How are we doing today, DJB?
I am just doing swimmingly. How are you?
I'm doing breaststrokingly.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's been a good week. Had a Halloween party this weekend.
Goth?
Not goth, just regular old costumes, adults, and plenty of alcohol.
Okay, shaking it up a bit.
Yeah. I mean, I just live as a goth every single day of my life. So I actually dressed up as like a middle school principal for this weekend.
Oh, I could have given you a sweatshirt.
Yeah.
A nice cardigan.
I went around telling everyone my name was Dustin. It was great.
Wow. Okay. Well, fantastic. I will just disclose what I'm dressing up as.
What is it?
So everybody in my office is going with Space Jam theme. I will be Bill Murray.
Yeah. That's a good costume.
It's a good one. I couldn't find the umbrella hat though. So, but I do have my Toon Squad Murray jersey.
That's fire.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've had this for a long time and played pickup ball in it.
No, I just ordered it, but on Sundays, now that my kids' soccer season is wrapping up, I will be back. We have full court runs every Sunday morning at a local park, and the Toon Squad will be well represented in the future.
Hell yeah. Definitely got to bring out the Toon Squad jersey for the pickup games.
Well, and realistically, I'm about Bill Murray status. I got one or two behind the back passes in me a game, and then it's a lot of sitting on the sidelines and stretching.
Stretching is important. I'm old as fuck, and I still don't think to stretch. Doesn't even occur to me.
Well, it does now because like I have to take baby aspirin before I go out and play. Like my back will lock up. I was on the trampoline. Guess what? Trampolines aren't for 40-year-olds anymore. My kids were laughing at me, and I was not laughing. I was wincing.
Well, this is the death of our youth, and I guess watching Survivor also indicates we might be old, might be getting older.
You know what? There are no age limits in Survivor. Ask 45-year-old Sue.
That's true. The youngest 45 we've ever seen.
Just vivacious.
Well, this episode 6, man, a lot went down. Rome actually gave the intro. Did you notice that?
I did notice that, yeah.
I was like, oh no, they're going to let this guy do more things? Fuck this guy.
Yeah, my exact sentiments. I think you said it best. He's insufferable, and I don't want to deal with Rome anymore.
No. Yeah, in the very intro card, he's like, that Rome guy's playing hard. I was like, oh, I can't imagine what his channel's like. I really can't.
Well, maybe you don't have to imagine. Maybe one day we'll just plug him and we'll take all of our viewership and run him that way.
Yeah, we'll do a collab.
Yeah.
Bring him on the show after it's all done. Well, Gada just got done blindsiding Annika, and Andy is over the moon. He's like, yeah, tribal council sucks. Not.
It was fun.
Yeah. And then Sam and Sierra talk over each other, apologizing to Rachel, who was blindsided. Andy basically was like, yeah, I know she wanted me out since week 2, kind of excuses himself. And then everyone talks about the merge. It's merge time, baby.
It's merge time. You know, I was kind of concerned about your girl, Rachel Rice, because she clearly was out of the loop and no one thought to brought her in. Like she was kind of clearly at the bottom of the hierarchy for Gada.
Hey, anything can happen. One day can change everything. And at the end of the day, everyone knew Rachel was close with Annika. It only made sense to leave her out of the vote. You know, everyone kind of comes back from tribal and is like, why didn't you tell me? Well, because if we did, then you would have tried to maneuver and figured something out to get someone else's name written down, which could have backfired on me.
It's really like a futile question, right? Like no one's ever gonna be like, "Oh my god, we meant to, but
It's not enough time.
yeah, there are so many other activities on the island."
Yeah. I think I think they tried that before, maybe last season, where they're like, "Oh yeah, it just changed so fast, and like we didn't have a chance to talk before we're going to tribal." And it's like you didn't have any chance, no chance to talk.
Not even like 23 hours of the day when you're not doing anything other than just being around each other.
Yeah. So then Lavo, they see the boat coming towards them for the merge. They're like, "Nah, what's that?" And they're like, "Oh, drop your buffs. 10 minutes, grab your shit." I just remember from this part of it seeing Teeny in the confessional with her like patchwork jeans. I was like, you know what? You are a fucking scarecrow.
Well, only because Jeff made her be one.
Yeah. Jeff forced her into scarecrowhood, scarecrowitude.
Oh, no response. That I think is the technical term for it. We'll ask a farmer.
I was like, man, if you get a note card that says you have 10 minutes, pack up all your shit, that doesn't seem like a lot of time. But also, they don't have a lot of stuff. So
Yeah,
what do you think about that timeline?
I always wonder about that because, like, remember how they used to like jump off the boat and then their like game was live? I
Yeah.
was always wondering, like, how many like shirts do you have? Like, what's the underoo situation? Because I don't want to be in the same crusties for 30 days.
No, definitely not.
No.
And you're not like really showering, you're bathing in ocean water, which, isn't the same. I don't know, man. Don't have
I,
bidets, so
I,
dice would be fucked.
yeah, Dice is out. No, but what is this? What is this? He'd probably find a nice piece of cloth somewhere. Take a teeny patch.
You take like one of those fishes and just like what with the fish. Then Tuku gets to just stay fucking there because all of the tribes are meeting them at their place.
Mhm.
And Sue's panicking because she's like, "Oh shit, they're gonna look through our bags," and she has that red idol.
Yeah. What I don't get, so I think you're gonna get into it further, but like everybody spreads out, right? Once they get there, they read a sign like, "Oh, there's an idol somewhere," and while everybody's scrambling to find this, not an idol, a hidden immunity or a hidden uh, challenge advantage, and while everybody's scrambling, they find all the red paint everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm thinking, like, okay, it makes sense they found it. It makes sense that they like connect the dots. Oh, this must be some sort of clue. But what was Tuco doing the whole time that there's been red paint everywhere before the merge?
Yeah, that is a good question. I wonder if they were just so lost in the sauce. They're like, "Yeah, I'm just existing here. Maybe not searching for idols."
Man, Sue almost bled out. Like, just kept pushing. Like,
Oh
what
my
is this?
god. But yeah, I mean, as soon as they hit the beach, everyone starts meeting each other, but they also have a big sign that they have to read together. They basically said there's a challenge tomorrow to see who makes the merge. There's one person who won't make the merge, so it's not quite merge yet. And they say there's a hidden advantage somewhere around camp. Go. Everyone scrambles. And I was just thinking, like, they did Sue so dirty here because, like, basically you're gonna have, fucking what, 12 people scouring everywhere on this patch of land, and you just made the messiest idol before. So it's like I don't think there is any winning for whoever ran across that idol.
No. Well, I mean, she played it off pretty well. Like, again, my girl Caroline, and they did say Caroline. So that's,
Caroline.
yep, thank you. Big brain again is like, oh, I remember Sue was bleeding profusely. Maybe it wasn't blood. Maybe it was the idol. She's got it. I'm proud of her.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think she might be all right as long as Tiana doesn't, spill the beans later.
I don't see any way Tiana doesn't spill the beans. But both of them figure it out. Tiana and Caroline are like, oh, yeah, that one weird time where she's just sitting with the bloody hatchet. I don't think she murdered herself. So we see scraps of, red paint. We see a broken red vase. Basically, they're just digging all over the fucking place. They're like, oh, my God, all this evidence. And it goes to question, like, okay, would somebody else have hidden it better? Do you think, like, if Rome, or maybe not Rome, he's not that smart.
Come on now.
If Caroline found this, it splattered everywhere, do you think she could have done anything to hide it better? Or do you think it's just like, nah, Survivor production crew fucked whoever got this idol?
Yeah, I'd lean toward the latter. I think the production crew just did a good job, leaving somebody red-handed because, like, there's only so much water you have, and you're gonna have to use a ladle to get it out to then wash it away. And if you dig, then it's obvious that you dug. So, like, especially because you're always under the gun, right? If you're at the water well, there's that assumption of time that everybody has that you're going to be gone, X amount of minutes. And if you're just cooling out there for 30 minutes, somebody's gonna be like, oh, you're either looking for the idol or something happened and you have the idol.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think you're right. I think it's just like there was no getting around it. People are going to be digging around. Everyone's looking for this advantage. And it's like, oh, shit, crime scene. So, yeah, a couple people pick up on it. Even the people that weren't around were like, hey, did anybody see anybody with red hands? Like, hint, hint. One of my favorite scenes from here was Saul and Sue bonding over their age.
Yes.
Saul at 42, Sue at 45. He's like, damn, we look good. And she's like, yeah. Why is she lying?
There's nothing to gain from it whatsoever. That's the funniest thing. It's like, I think you'd get respected more if you just came out and be like, actually, I'm 58 and I'm still hanging with you guys.
Right.
Wouldn't that give you more accolades? Like,
is that what she's trying to protect against? Like, she doesn't want the mother vote or whatever?
Yeah, but I think she's worried like there's going to be ageism, right? But for most of these kids, if you're over 35, you're a grandpa anyways, or a grandma. Yeah. And so it's like, it all comes down to the challenges. You're not going to be able to like hide your physical ability. So why lie about your chronological age? It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't see any benefit for it. I don't see anyone being like, oh, like, I mean, and to me, like, don't get me wrong, I'm, knocking on 40's door. But to me, 45 and 58, interchangeable. You know what I mean? Like, you're just old as dirt at that point. So, yeah.
I wouldn't care. Like, the only thing that would impact my vote when it comes to age is if somebody's age precluded them from being able to do something that I needed them to do to help push our team forward.
Right. And to her credit, she's got some guns. Like, this lady clearly works out, fit as a fiddle.
Great vascularity in the forearms. Love it.
Vascularity. See them veins popping? Yeah.
I have, and I noticed right away. It's like, whoa, you got the forearms of a sailor.
So another great moment of this was when Genevieve and Sam are running around looking for clues. They spot a buoy, and Sam specifically says, no, it's nothing. No, like, don't even check over there. I know for sure it's nothing. And I was like, oh, he's trying to go in like himself.
That's what I thought. The whole time, like, oh, he's feigning to take her attention off, and the second she turns his back, he's going to dive in.
Yeah. And he didn't. In fact, the opposite happened. He fucks back off. The crew is like just kind of hanging out. Like, people kind of gave up. They're like, everyone starts to like chat amongst each other, try to like get to know one another. Meanwhile, there's still an advantage out there. Genevieve has this gnawing sense of like, what the fuck was with that buoy? Ends up going out. There's a little note attached to it, and she finds the advantage, brings it back, and reads it in front of the crew. Sam says, "What the fuck? The buoy?"
The most obvious thing on the island that doesn't belong had a clue after we were told there's going to be a clue.
Yeah. So congrats to Genevieve. It's that shrewd ass lawyer. Smart,
Yeah.
smart.
Telling you, man. I like Saul though, but Saul's kind of weird. He's like, it's driving me nuts that we're all just sitting here talking instead of looking for an idol. It's like, you could leave. I mean,
Well, it's also precarious too, because it's like, yes, you could, but also like, man, there is a weird perception for it as well. I always found that interesting. It's like, well, we're all here to play the game. And, Gabe, Rome, immediately they just run off looking for idols and shit. And it's like, ooh, we can't trust them. There is a little bit of that. And Rome even says later on of like, he tells Jeff, like, yeah, the advantage really isn't an advantage anymore in New Survivor. Puts a target on your back. So even looking for stuff can cast you in a weird light, especially if everyone's kind of agreed socially just to like, well, we're all going to hang out here, right?
Yeah, but I mean, you read a message when you first get there, and the last word is go. I'm not going to stop and chit chat. I'm going to go. The sign told me to go. Like, I don't know. I think that's the difference in this scenario is like you clearly had an objective when you got there. It was a written objective with an expectation attached. And to like look for 10 minutes or however long they did and then just sit around and be like, oh, this is frustrating. No one's looking. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to be the change agent then. I'm going for it. Like you have carte blanche at that point.
Yeah.
I think in this situation, it's different than when you first arrive on the island and you know that there's probably an idol out there somewhere, but you got to like build relationships and rapport. Here, like the objective was clearly stated.
Yeah. And it is funny. It's like, hey guys, it's like, I don't want to be the one to suggest like, yeah, we really need to look for this. But also, damn, aren't y'all trying to play this game? It reminds me of Caroline's banger quote where she's like, yeah, some people decided to play cornhole. I decided to continue playing Survivor.
Yeah, exactly.
So Genevieve gets the advantage, and then it goes to Rome trying to spice things up. He's pictured talking to Kyle, trying to like meet this new guy and like be friends with him. He's just asking him what he thinks, like, hey, Sam looks pretty strong. He's like, yeah, I think Sam's probably one of the biggest threats to win. Rome then says Tiana's name, like, yeah, she's a pretty strong girl, huh? And he's like, yeah, sure. Yeah, she's threatening, sure. Then just immediately goes back to every single person that he asked Kyle about and then throws Kyle under the bus, including Carolyn and Sue. He said something about like, yeah, they're probably not going to be big challenge beasts. And Kyle's like, yeah, I guess. Immediately runs to Carolyn and Sue and says, yo, Kyle's been talking shit. He says you're the weakest on the tribe. Goes to Tiana, is like, yeah, Tiana, he's throwing your name out, saying that you're the strongest. It's like, no, you said that. You said that.
He did. Like the worst. And the whole time he's sitting back, like laid up on a rock, like, Rome did it. Give me information. I spread it. Hey. I'm like, I cannot stand this dude. Like, just the most like bewildering gameplay I've ever seen where like his whole strategy is like, I'm just going to throw everything at the wall and something's going to stick and I'm going to fumble my way into another idol. Dude. Rome's going to sit pretty. Oh, like him.
It's so crazy because it's a terrible strategy. Like, is it entertaining to hate him? Sure. Yes, he makes great TV and maybe that's what he's going for. But as far as the game of Survivor, he's doing all the wrong things. All of these, things, him scrambling, him throwing out names, him twisting people's words, it's going to get out. You know, like there's no way it doesn't. So it's just going to backfire on you. And everyone's like, and that's exactly what happens. Tiana was like, oh, felt like something was a little off with Rome's story about, yeah, Kyle's throwing your name out saying you're a huge threat. So she went and talks to Kyle. Everyone's talking around a water wheel. Everyone's saying, yeah, he's throwing out all sorts of shit, talking that you said stuff. And no vote Kyle says, what a dick.
I love that. That's one of my favorite. I had 3 good quotes this episode.
Yeah.
What a dick
What a dick.
Was my favorite. I think dick's the best insult ever. It's probably my most used one, and it's not too harsh. And you know how I am with my language.
Sure.
But yeah, you could just tell like Kyle's like, but this wasn't one of my favorite ones, but he's like, you know me, I'm the most honest dumbass there is. Like, that wasn't it, but like when he first goes to the water well, he's like, that's it. I got something to say. F Rome. Like that's what started everybody talking.
Yeah, they all agree. Fuck that guy. Everyone hates him now. And it's been like, 2 hours. They just landed on this beach and they're like, who is this fucking guy? Fuck this guy. Oh my God. It's so good. But then goes to the challenge. Next up, the challenge, deciding who makes the merge. The twist is you have to divide up into 2 teams of 6. The winning team earns a meal, doesn't earn a spot in the merge right off the bat. They go into a second challenge where they compete against each other, and one person will get individual immunity. It's the only person who's safe, and then everyone else is on the chopping block.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they had to race through a mud pit and then go through wood shavings. All in all, it looked fucking torturous.
It did. It looked like a slog, man. Like, it just messy, heavy, like running up the American Ninja Warrior wall at the end, too. Like, I was just thinking about that. Like, I would hate that. This would be like one of my least favorite challenges. And if you looked at Jeff, he looked sunbeaten and just sweaty as all get out. And I was like, man, it looks hot, dirty, and just like that mud just seemed like it would drape all over you and be like a coat of armor, like extra heavy.
Yeah. Not only that, but the second you go through the mud, then you have to like dive face first and swim through like bark chips. Can you imagine how itchy that shit is? Especially with a coat of mud, like to make everything stick to you.
Yeah. No, it looked like one of the most miserable challenges I've seen.
Yeah.
Other than the one where they're in the water and they have to breathe through the reeds and the waves come over, that's torture. I'd be out.
I'd be out too. I'd be like, this is too much. Because it's going up the nose the whole time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Ugh.
But other than that, this seemed like one of the more grueling challenges I've seen.
Yeah. So then after they get through the mud pit, the shavings, they then get a bag with a bunch of coconuts and a ball with a grappling hook. You have to run up this steep ramp, American Ninja Warrior style. The funniest part about this is your girl, Carolyn, running at the ramp like she's never run before.
No, it was bad. I thought she was going to gas out before she got there. It was terrible.
Dude, I've never seen someone so unathletic. But yeah, they kind of crazily jerk her up, and everyone gets to the next phase. The next phase is kind of where it was just neck and neck, right? Eventually everyone gets up to the next stage where you have a circular wooden maze that ball that you carried from earlier, you have to maneuver it with 2 people through the maze into the center and go down the middle hole like they've done in the past. It was, who was it? Gabe and Rome on one side.
Yeah.
And Sam and Kyle with the other.
and it was like polar opposites as far as like strategy. Rome and Gabe are like jerking this thing up and down. And it was like they had no control or synchronization at all.
Yeah.
And Sam and Kai are like, okay, we're gonna slowly do this. All right, are you ready? I'm ready. Let's go. And like they were just like incrementally moving their way in and out of this maze. Well, Gabe and Rome were just like trying to hop it over holes and yeah. and Saul's over there like, hey, can we tag out?
Yeah, no, he was shouting. He's like, "Is there swap outs? Is there swap outs? You guys want to swap out?" And Jeff's like, "No, man, sorry." It's like everything they put Rome on, he fucks up. Every single thing.
I don't know that they're putting him on it, or if it's just like his super inflated ego that's like, I got this.
It could be both. I mean, you see how he runs over anyone with a dissenting opinion. It's happened a bunch. He's like, "No, I'm doing this. I'm gonna be mad if you don't let me do this." And it's like, well, every time you're the factor. You're the reason we fucking lose.
What about the people being mad that we're hungry now?
That too. So yeah, Jeff is like commenting on the crazy jerky moves. Saul talking shit. Rome and Gabe dropped the ball. It was kind of close for a second, and the jerk got him very close, but they were just too out of control. Dropped the ball, and then slow and steady, Sam and Kyle pulled through. Yellow ends up winning. So that leaves Sam, Sue, Kyle, Sierra, Rachel, Teeny, and Genevieve, who, because she got the advantage, gets to just hop into the second part of the challenge to compete for individual immunity. This is a Survivor Classic. I love this one where they're standing barefoot on a balance beam, and they basically have this wooden bow that they balance a ball on top of, and they just kind of have to stay there like stationary without the ball falling off. Yeah. Classic.
My oldest daughter's like, Dad, why don't they all just lean it slightly so that you have the greatest surface area? And like, instead of putting it right at the top where it's most bowed, she's like, if you go sideways, it actually gives you a little bit different leverage. It's like, I didn't think about that, but the most sturdy ones had it like that. So maybe my kid's smarter than me.
Yeah, I would have never thought that either. Smart kid. I did see, Sue, Kyle, they definitely had it kind of tilted. And that was one of the notes that I put. I was like, huh, strange.
Yeah. Apparently she's like, yeah, this is just common sense. And
oh God.
Again, like last time. Oh, he's back. Thank goodness. Ooh, that was a scary 4 seconds.
And we're back. I did love that moment where Jeff was like, little bit of movement by Sue. Teeny looks over and immediately her ball falls off.
Yeah.
Gotta pay attention.
Yeah. How do you think you do on this one?
Honestly, not well.
Really?
I don't feel like I've got super balance. It is one where I feel like it looks easier than it probably is. So I'm just going to go based on like that. I feel like once you get up there, it's like, ooh, this is a lot of things to focus on, and I get distracted easily.
Yeah. That's
what about you?
If there wasn't a balance beam component, I think I'd be good. Like I could balance things with my hands all day, but if I'm worried about like my feet or staying on a beam, yeah, the legs ain't it.
The legs ain't it. Well, it ended up becoming Sue and Kyle for the final two. Sue did have some great saves. The wild ball movement, just back and forth, and just and eventually it just fell off. Kyle ends up calmly stepping down, and he could have gone for another hour probably.
Yeah, he moved like 2 inches the entire duration of the challenge.
Yeah, fucking G. He is turning out to be quite a bit of a challenge beast.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of my people. So Caroline's obviously you got to pick and stick, but I've always liked Kyle.
Well, I did comment. I thought the immunity necklace, little skeleton bat, looked ridiculous. I feel like they're just getting more and more outrageous each time.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I was like, this is like a WWE like You know, when they're like blatantly trying to be like racist or pander to like some stereotype.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well,
Let's see what you guys are doing, Survivor.
yeah.
So the winning team, they got a feast. Sam got a chance to eat his first pineapple. They throw out Rome's name, and then everyone's like, well, we should have a backup, right? Like, everyone fucking hates Rome, but what's our backup? And they're like, well, if it needs to be Andy, all right, it's Andy. Teeny gets wasted.
Loved it. Loved it. She's like, I'm waiting for someone to talk. Glug, 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 glug. And at one point, Sam's like, Teeny, I'm going to need you to not get super drunk for the vote tonight. And she's like, I'm going to need a buddy.
Yeah, I'm going to need a buddy. That did make me like her a little bit more, to be honest. I hated the whole scarecrow thing and just the dumb move she's made to this point. But I was like, oh, this is relatable. She hasn't gotten a chance to let loose her party for a while. Yeah, go nuts, girl.
I like, and honestly, I like Sam being able to like completely blew it with that buoy. Like, I think he knows he blew it with the buoy, but then he's like thinking, you know, Andy's a pretty sloppy player. I could probably rock with Saul moving forward, and like the ability to be like malleable in the moment. I think at some point will piss off Andy, but also is probably smartest for his game. Because I think if he would have been like, no, we can't do Andy after everybody's seen Andy melt down and they know his theatrics, like it would instantly be like, okay, well, Sam and Andy are together.
I think it's smart to downplay that connection for sure. What sucks, just looking at the preview for the next one, is I feel like Andy, we've always known this, needs the constant praise and adoration. He needs somebody to be like, Andy, I fucking love you, brother, every single day. And if there's even one hint of like, wait, you let my name be a backup? Like, he's going to feel a way. He's going to feel a certain type of way.
Yeah, but you can't placate him every situation at every moment. And like, that's also why at some point you have to be like cool with letting that relationship dissolve. Like, if you just acquiesce into whatever he wants because he needs it for his like weak ego, then you're not playing a game in your best interest.
It's true. And to be fair, I mean, this is one of my issues with Rome is that you have to be able and willing to drop any connection at any time. You have to be able to pivot on a dime. And that's why you can't just go into it like, these are my people. Everyone else can fuck off and die. It's like, no, you're going to need to work with a bunch of people. And probably a lot of those people you told to fuck off are going to be numbers for you in the future if you were a smart player.
And Andy's already tipped his hand. Like, the first week he got rid of the person he said he was closest to. So why would you want to keep that person around longer when the game gets more intense and the decisions become more impactful? Like, if I'm Sam, if I'm Sierra, I'm good cutting bait with him now and forging new relationships and be like, hey, this is what it was, but this isn't what it has to be moving forward. Where are you and your tribe, and how can we build something to go forward?
So Rome thought he was real slick. He was like going for Kyle, but Kyle had the immunity necklace. So he's like, I need a new plan. I'm going to target Saul because he's just one note. And that's just, he's like, fuck Saul.
Who saw that coming?
Yeah. And so his angle, fake tears. He fucking cries crocodile tears, DJB.
Yeah. No, and he did it to my girl Caroline. And right away I was like, oh my gosh, she's an empath and she's gonna cave. And she's like, I felt bad for him. It's like, he called me small, and I've always felt small and inferior in the moment. And I just and then it cuts to him doing his testimony. He's like, yeah, throw on some crocodile tears. They totally bit it.
Yeah, I was nervous about Caroline too. I was like, oh no, she's buying it. Mm-hmm. But I think it shows later she's like, oh yeah, he's feeling comfortable. So they got him right where they want him. But yeah, he's like, oh, Do you hear how he asked Jeff if there was sub outs because he's mean to me? And it's like, oh my god, it's
Even
not gonna work, bro. That's not smart. It's not good gameplay.
even the way he talked, like, reverted back to a 6-year-old, because I couldn't do that stuff and things. I was like, this sounds like my 5-year-old boy talking right now. Stuff and things, like, seriously,
Yeah,
Rome?
yeah. And so Rome thinks he has Caroline. He tells Genevieve the plan's Saul. Goes up to everyone, being like, "Yeah, did you hear? Yeah, the plan's Saul." Just each person trying to make it. It reminds me of that Mean Girls quote. Was like, "You're not gonna make fetch happen, Gretchen." It's like just because you go up and tell everyone, like, "Yeah, did you hear? All the numbers are on Saul." It's like, really? Because that's not at all the reality.
No, and it was funny because who was going up afterwards, be like, "Wait, do you know the real plan?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, Rome." Like, and there's no second guessing. Nobody bought into anything he said, but nobody said anything like to
Yeah.
give him any inkling that they weren't like all, "Oh yeah, we're 100% Saul."
Dude, and he's feeling himself. Like every fucking interview, he says, I think I might be a bit of a mastermind. Oh man, that Rome guy just switching the plan like that must say a lot about how I'm playing the game.
Yeah,
These are all direct quotes.
to go around and just get 7, like, I'd like to say it's Larry versus Magic, but really it's Michael Jordan versus Kurt Heinrich out here. That was my favorite of the night.
Oh
I was
my
like,
God.
he is Jordan and everybody else is Kirk Heinrich.
Ugh, what an idiot. And
Yeah.
he's like talking about how much he hates Saul for whatever reason. He's like, it's all about sending a message to Saul that I won the war. I'm gonna be feasting on Saul's bones tonight. Man, I am running this game.
Yeah.
What a wild confessional. It's always when they get cocky, right?
Yeah. I mean, my my kids were both like dumbfounded looking at me. They're like, does he know? I was like, no, he doesn't know. This is the issue with ego.
It's the issue. This is like a classic case of narcissism backfiring, right?
Yep.
So tribal council, Saul, talks about the advantage. He's like, yeah, we all looked for about a minute and then we started talking. Jeff is flabbergasted. He's like, fucking, what did you say? A minute? And that's when we kind of talk about, possible disadvantage to the advantages.
Mhm.
I feel like
Yeah.
felt like he had never considered that before.
Like Jeff had never considered that.
Jeff, yeah. It felt like he was just learning something during that tribal. And he's like, wait, you're saying that it could put you at risk to get these advantages we give you? You think he was just
I
playing it up?
I think he was baiting them for a more lively discussion. He wanted to hear what would come about it
Mm.
because if unanimously everybody said, "Yeah, this is an issue. We're not going for it." Well, there has to be some underlying reason beyond like Jeff's been there for what 47 seasons now. Like he knows the way the game is played, but that also spurs conversations. Well, why would you as an individual not go after it? What's the risk to you? And I think that sparks the conversation. And ultimately it gave the stage to the greatest showman to ever exist, Rome, to step up and explain how an advantage or an idol can actually be a detriment to the players.
And then he sits in Jeff's seat and explains how the amulet works, the three-way amulet.
Mhm.
He goes into that, explains it, takes his seat back at the across from Jeff, and cries because he got a chance to sit in the great Jeff Probst seat.
What a moment. What a moment. And the whole time, I think he's so confident and he's delivering it so well because in his mind, Saul's going home. Rome's coming out smelling like roses again. There's nothing to worry about. He's just free flowing. And And it's so funny because everybody's watching him and be like, this is a swan song. He's out. Everybody but him.
Everybody but him. So yeah, it was just wild the amount of confidence he went into there. And as they start reading the votes, you could just see it in his eyes as the reality dawns on him.
Mhm.
Yeah. And Saul just grinning ear to ear, like, yeah, I did this to you.
Yeah. It's been a long time coming.
And they did throw out an Andy just in case he had an amulet or some shit. You know, they wrote Andy. And Rome wrote Sam just to shake things up because he was so confident everyone would be writing Saul. And so, yeah, that ended up being his downfall. Everyone piled the votes on Rome except for one throwaway, and he's out.
He was actually pretty like, I think it was commendable the way that he left, right? Like he gave everybody kudos, got a bro hug from Jeff, but like I don't know. I thought he was a good sport on the way out.
I think he was a better sport than Annika.
Seriously? Who was it?
What, do you own this? Who owns this?
That is some like good old English or something, like some queen. Yorkshire. Who owns this?
Who owns this? Yeah, I mean, he's like, that hurts. It's all love. I did think it was weird how he's like, you guys don't got to worry about nothing. Like, what does that mean? You know, like kind of like a longer, exaggerated version of no worries, but also like, no, we're not worried. We wanted you gone. Bye.
Yeah. This was totally emotionless for everybody who voted. There were no sad people. Like there were no cutaways. Be like, I really hate to do this, but it's just numbers. Like everybody's like, Rome, carry on.
I really did wonder if the three people with the amulets were going to combine them to use it on Rome, which I was thinking about it in this way. I didn't want to see it. I wanted Rome gone. But if you did that, you'd have three people and Rome that could potentially work together. And you'd keep a big target that no one wants around in front of you. I don't know that the rest of the group could trust you if, you know, you kind of went apart from that and then let them pile the votes on him and just use the amulet. At the same time, there is some value for keeping such a piece of shit in the game because that's one more vote that goes to him instead of you. One more tribal.
Yeah, we as a family we talked about that a little bit because my oldest daughter's like, well, he's gone, and my wife's like, well, what if they use it on Rome? Then they get to dictate, who goes home, and it's just those three who would be able to make the choice. And so I thought about it a little bit. I was like, that's true. They'd have a clear four moving forward because I don't know that they'd be able to hitch their wagon to a fifth or a sixth. They'd have to really work to regain trust. But then also that blame wouldn't be pinned on one person. So the others would have to then band together and decide which order they were going to seemingly go after the other three. And would you go after Rome, the easy vote, or would you go after the person who you thought masterminded it, whether it was Andy, Caroline, or Teeny? So I think that Amulet did present a little bit of a twist in the game where there was that diffusion of responsibility. It wasn't one person who made a big move, or it wouldn't have been one person who made a big move, but then you would have had to like figure out and identify like who the target would be out of those three or four. So it would have been interesting gameplay.
It would have been interesting. And I go back and forth on it too, because it's like, yeah, you keep, the goat in front of you, the put somebody else's target in front of you, but it would also bring a target on the larger group of the three with the amulets. And you're right, it would be kind of a brilliant move, but kind of short-sighted because then you're immediately putting yourself in the lower half and I don't know that you can climb back up.
Right. I think it would be a little bit nearsighted. Like you make a big move and it would be a resume builder, but the resume doesn't matter if you don't make it to the end. And I think that lowers your overall odds of progressing.
I think I agree with you. The last kind of interesting part that I put for tribal council was when Andy turns to Sam and he is like, "Was I the fake vote? Was I the backup?" And Sam's like, "I don't know, dude." Like you knew.
Yeah, and that's gonna get out. I mean, Sam kind of had a rough episode, honestly, between not going after the buoy and then
Mm.
blatantly admitting, "Oh yeah, I saw that too. I didn't go after it." I think everybody's kind of looking around like, "Wait, you saw a buoy and you just said, forget it." And then he did good in the challenge, but then when he was at the feast and they threw out Andy, who was his buddy, he put up absolutely no resistance. Like that could go either way, but I think it's going to get back to Andy that he put up no resistance. He knew Andy was the vote, and I think there might be some retaliation on Andy's end, to your point, because he's so sensitive.
Yep. Yep. Well, that is, obviously we'll be back next Sunday to talk about episode 7. I did see the preview. Did you get a chance to see the preview for next week?
I don't think I did. No.
Well, Andy goes to Saul and he wants Gata out because he's feeling a certain way about his name being thrown out.
He wants Gata out, like the entire tribe. Like
Yeah,
they're into him now.
yeah. For whatever reason, he's like, "I want Gata out," and then like goes to Saul, and it's edited, so it could be a fake. Them pulling one over on Saul. Who knows? But there was a scene where he goes to Saul and he's like, "Yeah, fuck them." There was also Teeny wanted a girls' alliance, so she's kind of doing that thing. Like, what if us girls all work together?
The breadwinners.
And Gabe talks down to everyone. Just in his confessional, just all my puppets. Just
Did he say puppets?
He said puppets. Yeah.
Oh god.
So he's thinking of himself as somewhat of a puppet master.
Like when it comes to personality archetypes, I think I'd rather deal with a Rome than with a Gabe, right? Like Rome is flamboyantly who he is. Like he's not gonna hide it, and if he tries to hide it or be swarmy, because it's written all over his face. Like this is what happens, right?
Yeah.
Gabe is just like, he's like, I don't know, the megalomaniac who doesn't say anything and just thinks he's smarter than everybody else. Like, that's almost more perturbing.
Yeah. I agree. Because, with Rome, you never wonder where you stand, right? There's no question. You're either his homie or his enemy, and he lets you know.
Mhm.
And he's so out loud with his moves and his plottings, and everything is just on out there on his sleeve. Gabe's the opposite. Gabe is plotting against you, would slit your throat in a heartbeat, but will smile to your face, and you can't predict it coming unless you really have somebody on the inside.
I wonder what it's like because obviously we only get snippets, like moments in time where we see what it's like on the island, but like it doesn't seem like he has a lot of interpersonal skills or he'd be somebody who you could just chop it up with, but he hasn't really created any waves. However, he's, I don't know, like deplorable when he's in these testimonials. There's nothing
Yeah.
that makes me want to root for him or like him. Again, it's just him talking down to everybody else. He has a superiority complex.
I hate it because this is a guy that, clearly studied Survivor and is like, I'm looking for an old lady because they're loyal. Like he went in with this game plan. I think everyone should go in with a game plan. I just hate how he sees everyone as pawns.
Mhm.
And Sue isn't Sue to him. Sue is, you're the old lady I collected because I needed, a Survivor 1.0 type mentality who will be blindly loyal to me to a fault.
Right. I mean, you hit the nail on the head right there. They're not people. They're like objects that he's using to manipulate. based on, whatever I was gonna say like status it will help him achieve, right? Like
Mm.
there's no human or humane approach to his gameplay at all, which just it's gross, man. I know it's a game, but I don't think I could ever not see someone as human and just see them as an object to benefit me.
Yeah. I mean, it's terrible to say, but just be normal, dude. Because it kind of goes the other way too. Like I can't stand the coach archetype, where they come in and they're like, I'm gonna play a loyal game, I'll play an honest game, and everything I do has to be 100% like honest, trustworthy because I got my morals. Shut up. Just be normal, you know?
Yeah.
And
Eh,
prove it with your actions, not your words. It's always the people that
hmm.
talk a big game that are just the most annoying fucks. And they don't ever live up to what they try to be. And they're very like unmovable. They can't pivot.
Exactly. I think that's why I like the Boston Rob so much, right? He has that way of finding equilibrium where it's like, I'm not going to be a jerk. I'm not going to be dishonest, but there comes a time where there has to be some gamesmanship. And under the auspice of Survivor, I'm able to pick and choose when I'm going to be totally loyal versus when I'm going to have to play the game a certain way, and it might mean that I'm not going to be 100% honest. And so, I think it's fair play if you're gonna lie. Not that you do it all the time or you're like Rome, but
Yeah.
knowing when you can mix it in and not just being 100% of one thing. Like if you go on like like a Russ from seasons past, like I'm a villain,
Yeah.
like that's annoying. The I'm a commendable, honorable person. I will never lie. I will only be honest. Like
Also
you're
annoying.
you're also going to lose because you can't play it straight up 100% of the time. So it's those people that are able to find balance that typically do the best, I think.
Totally. And I think, there's probably greater life lessons to be learned here, but just even specific to the game of Survivor, it's like everyone has a code of ethics, everyone has morals, and I think the ones that just have this very strict, rigid system that they bring into a game, like at the end of the day, you do have to remember it's a game,
Mhm.
right? So the moral part of this is not treating people as lesser than, actually recognizing these are real humans with real feelings. At the same time, you don't have to give everyone every bit of information because that's otherwise you'd be lying. Like, shut up, you
Yeah.
know? It's a game, and just because you didn't tell somebody you have an amulet doesn't mean that you're a bad person in the real world.
Right. So who do you think's doing the best job of striking that balance right now?
Ooh, I like Caroline. I honestly like Sam too. I think that, you know, he works with what he's given, and I think he genuinely has forged real relationships with everyone on Gada, even Andy. Even though he's kind of a useful idiot in some aspects, it's like I think he genuinely kind of looks at him like a little brother, maybe. Of
Mhm.
like, come on, man, you're playing so sloppy. Like, get your shot in the dark, put it in your sock. What are you doing? You know?
Yeah. Honestly, I was thinking Sam. I was thinking equal parts Sierra. Maybe I do just see them as a tandem, but I think she's done a lot of work on the back end, like talking some sense into Sam, even though he clearly won the debate over Annika versus Andy. Like she's also been really good at bringing Andy in and making him feel comfortable, imploring Sam not to use his idol because that would kill the relationship with Andy. And
Yeah.
then like just being pretty balanced. I think Caroline has done a good job, with whether it's Tiana like apologizing to Gabe or protecting Sue when she needed to, or
Mhm.
placating Rome. And then I think Kyle's done a pretty good job.
Kyle.
Like he's been able to go from the bottom of Tuku to just be totally honest and be like, I'm a country bumpkin. F Rome, everybody's with me, right? And it's like kind of endearing. And I think people are like, I like this guy. I feel
Yeah.
for him. And I think that could take him far. I think he's going to be all right when it comes to like building new relationships moving forward. I don't think people view him as a target, even though he's a challenge beast. And that's a good combination to have.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens once he wins, one or two more challenges. But for right now, I agree. I think that he's done a masterful job kind of fitting into the new tribe dynamics. No vote Kyle, going around, making people trust him. I think he's been doing a great job. Yeah. All right. Well, that is the episode 6 of Survivor 47. Rome is out of there. Any parts that we missed? Any other points that you'd like to bring up?
No, Sam did have a bar during his parchment writing session where he said Rome was not built in one day, but it was destroyed tonight, or something like that. I was like, all right, Sam.
Hey.
Yeah.
Bars.
And breaking news, he's a pineapple guy.
Dude, it was kind of funny seeing him as like, breaking news, I'm a pineapple guy. Because like it's kind of funny. It's like, oh, okay, his first pineapple. Yeah, goofy. But also like, what makes you think we care so much about you and your pineapple taste? Like, yeah. Shout out. Pineapple's great, for the record. Not on pizza, but just chunks of pineapple all day.
Oh, I'll take a Hawaiian pizza 9 days out of the week.
Ew.
Yeah.
Is that like your go-to? Would you get that over any other type?
No, I'm a meat man. Love my meats. So I like the pep with a little jalapenos, maybe some sausage or bacon sprinkled in there. Let's get wild.
That is pretty wild.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, for me, it's always a Little Caesars hot and ready pepperoni with buffalo ranch. Had it today. Fucking great. So good.
Well, at least you're saving money.
If this was $100 pizza, I would still get it. It is the best pizza in the world. Somehow nobody believes me, but yeah, I love it.
Okay, well, they found one loyal customer. So
all right, my friends. Well, that's it for another episode of White Collar Reacts Survivor Season 47. Tune in next Sunday, and we will watch on Wednesday and talk about it a couple days later.
sounds like a great plan. And he's gone. So for the rest of the episode,